says we're connecting. All right. We should be going. So,
Awesome.
hi, Chris Bogue. How are you?
Hey, Erin Lewber. I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm fabulous because you're here, and you're officially the first real official guest of the Friday Career Lunch Break. And I picked you because you're a video guy, and I figured if anything went wrong, I should have somebody here to save me if video went belly up.
Yeah. Well, that's the first rule of video is it always breaks.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to tell the people who you are. I wrote it down because I love the way you described yourself. So for folks who don't already know Chris Bogue, Chris coaches people to create mercifully short video content for business. He's a creator of the Complete Guide to Selling on Video, a digital course on video prospecting for sales. He also is a sketch comedy writer, an improv trainer, host of Chris Sells His Soul, and my personal favorite, Death by PowerPoint. I love Death by PowerPoint. And we're going to talk about that in a minute because if people don't know, are you still doing it?
Season 2 is not started up yet, but there will be more Death by PowerPoint this year.
Okay. We're going to talk to the people about this because I think it's amazing. ChrisBogue.io, you can see it next to his name there. That is his website where you can find all the things. You can also, of course, find him on LinkedIn. But Chris, when I was thinking about this, my whole vision of Friday Career Lunch Break was to talk to cool people on LinkedIn about stuff that kind of sort of relates to careers and is just also interesting. And I think you check all the boxes for that because you're doing a lot of cool stuff on LinkedIn. You're super interactive. You've got a great following and you're doing something with video that I think a lot of people want to be able to do. Especially for like my job seekers, who are a lot of people who I end up talking with, is they're thinking about how do I get creative, and a lot of times I'll tell people, oh, video is a really cool way to distinguish yourself if you do it properly. And so I thought, why not have you come talk to the people about video and how do you show up on video and have it work?
Yeah, it's like my favorite topic.
Yeah. All right. So go. If you've got something.
No,
go.
I was going to say, what
No
kind of
script.
video are we talking? What kind of video? Because I do a lot of different types of
Yeah.
videos. So we can start wherever you want to start.
Well, let's talk about, I kind of want to go job seeker specific. So, a lot of times, one of the things that I oftentimes coach clients to do is to think about getting either recording using their iPhone or maybe using a tool like Loom and just creating micro videos to introduce themselves in the job search. And people are like, oh no, I couldn't do that. Couldn't possibly do that. Intimidating, scary, don't know what to say or do. So let's talk about that. Like, what are your thoughts on using video as a job seeker, first of all? And then what do you think about something like a micro video like that? Do you think there's value in something along those lines?
Oh, that's best practices. I have sent a ton of those throughout my life. I have coached a lot of people to send videos along with their job applications. It oftentimes is the thing that helps them stand out. And there's no reason to be afraid of this. It's actually a very easy kind of video to do.
Yeah. So let's just pretend somebody is sitting here with us and they're like, I don't even know where to start. Like, what do I do, Chris?
Okay, so and this is a job seeker we're talking about,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's a great context just because a lot of my audience is looking for a job. So I always like to think about, can we use what you do and what you're great at to help them stand out from the pack?
Okay, so if you're doing a job video, what you start with is the role.
Mm-hmm.
You start with the job description. So this is going to be a theme throughout this episode. If you're watching this here, no matter if you're making a video for a job application or for, like, let's say a sales video. I do a lot of those where you're trying to get a meeting with somebody for sales. Maybe you're trying to make some sort of creative educational video to showcase your knowledge on LinkedIn. Whatever it is you're making, you've got to remember that you are not the main character. You are the supporting character. And that's kind of the secret sauce of what I'm doing is, even if I am making a video that goes straight to a hiring manager, or I'm making a video that goes straight to a VP of sales because I want to train their team, even though I am the only person you are seeing on screen, I am not the main character. I am the supporting character. The camera is the main character.
Okay.
Right? The
What do you
video
mean?
is about the video is about the person who is receiving it. It's not about me. So when I
Mhm.
want to send an email, or when I want to send a video in for a job application, I'm not saying like, hey, I'm Chris Bogue, I'm so fantastic, look at all this stuff I'm doing. I'm reaching out and I'm saying, hey, I am applying for your account executive role. And the reason why I wanted to reach out was because I saw these things that jumped out to me where there's tons of alignment. So, first off, you're looking for somebody who can do blah, blah, blah. And here's what I can do for that. I also see that your recommended traits are this and this and this, which is perfect because that aligns with what I did in my last role. And again, I am mentioning things about me, but that's not the focus of it. The focus is you need someone who can do these 5 things. And that's why there's lots of alignment here. And that's why I want the chance to speak with you further. I would love to share with you my processes, my automations. I'd love to bring to the table more of like kind of the vision I see for the role. So let me know if you're interested in exploring this further. Thanks for watching. That's a minute long. You didn't give away everything because guess what? If they want to read your life story, your resume and your cover letter and maybe your website and your LinkedIn, that is all there. And like they will get there. They will get there. If they're interested in you, they're gonna like scoop you out, snope you out, whatever the word is. I'm sure I misspoke that, but there are more ways to creep on people than ever, right? It's easier for them to get that than ever. You're not even going to get to that point unless they think you meet the bare qualifications for the role,
Right,
So it's
right.
like that short micro video, that is about the role. You are excited about the role. There are specific things they are looking for in the role that you're excited about because you have relevant experience here, but you're only keeping it to, a minute or two because you're highlighting the things that are most important about the role. You're explaining why you're excited. I use the word alignment a lot. I see lots of
Mhm.
alignment here. And then this is why I want to chat with you further. This is why I think it makes sense for
Yeah.
us to chat. I would love to speak with you further about this. Again, I'm not the main character here. The main character is them because they have a post-it note on their desk that says screen 5 candidates because this is not their full-time job. That's another thing people
Mhm.
need to remember when they're applying to jobs. Oftentimes the person who is hiring job like applicants is
Yeah.
not their primary thing they do. They have
No.
a ton of other
No.
full-time responsibilities. So
Yeah.
your job is to make sure that you don't get tossed aside in the list of irrelevant people. You want to be on that list of 5 people. And if you're the only one who sent a video and the video comes through and like here's their top 5 priorities and it's you explaining why each of those is important to you and you have personal experience with each of those and you're moving the conversation along, that's what the video is about. And like anyone can make a video like that because again you're not selling you are talking about the role.
Yeah. I always tell people you're just explaining the facts. You're just connecting the dots, right? It's not like because there's oftentimes this job seekers in general, like, I don't want to brag about myself. And it's not bragging if you're just connecting the dots. Or I love that word of alignment. Like, here's where I see alignment between what I factually have to offer and what you're looking for. Now, let me ask you this because I want to know more about improv and where you got your background in improv
Mm-hmm.
because I think a lot of people try to overscript when they make these videos because they want to get it right, And so maybe it's that whole thing about us not being the main character and not trying to, make it all about us. But I have so many people who are like they look like they want to kill somebody through the camera because they aren't moving, there's no hands, and it's just like deadpan staring down the camera. And it's almost robotic in what they're saying because they've practiced it so many times
Mm.
that it like video almost is like, please don't send that video because now it just kind of isn't helping you. You kind of look like a weirdo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do there? Like, how do people get comfortable, or like how do you coach people to be themselves, to know what they need to say, to kind of have some core things, but to not robo the camera to the point where it's a little scary?
Yeah, so first off let's talk a little bit about like what improv is and
Yeah.
what improv isn't. So I come from Chicago. I was trained at Chicago's Second City Theater, which is where a lot of people since the 1950s have learned to do improv and sketch comedy. It is a little bit, I like to describe it as like lowbrow, high class,
Okay.
or high class, lowbrow. The thing is, like, most people, when you talk about improv or comedy, they're like, I could never do that. I'm not funny. The only time I'm funny is when I am hanging around with my friends and family.
Mm.
And I'm like, yes, that is the version of you that's funny. And when you actually learn the craft of improv, there is this important rule, which is don't tell jokes. You don't tell jokes. You don't go up there and tell jokes. Don't go say the thing that you think is going to be a laugh because you've heard somebody else say it.
Uh-huh.
Go tell the truth. Go be 100% honest. And when you say the thing that's honest instead of the thing that you think you're supposed to say, that's when the audience laughs because they're like, oh, yeah, that's what I say too, So when you're talking to the camera, you should be talking to the camera like it's your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts with setting the camera at eye level. You're literally talking to them just like one-on-one. But again, this goes back to the idea of like, you're not the main character. This is not a performance where you're up on stage and the audience is sitting there and clapping with you. This is essentially one half of a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you can talk to that camera like it's a friend, the more you can talk to the camera like it's somebody in the room with you, the more effective you're going to be on camera. And one exercise that I do with clients, one exercise that I do training with teams, this is like how I find that natural cadence. I'm just going to put you on the spot here, Erin.
Okay.
I'm going to say, think for a minute, pick a topic that you are really passionate about that 99.9% of people wouldn't know. So I'll give you some examples from me. So I am very knowledgeable about classic Simpsons episodes. Right.
Good. Okay.
I am very passionate about the video game Super Smash Brothers. I'm a chess player. I could talk to you in depth about chess openings. Maybe somebody is like, they know all the brunch spots, all the good brunch spots in downtown Chicago. Or maybe they know like a lot about classic 1950s football. Whatever it is, pick a topic. What's something you are obsessed with, Erin, where you're like, I don't even know why I love this so much, but I could talk about this stupid topic all day long.
I love being outdoors in all forms. Like if we can talk about gardening, if we can talk about hiking, if we can talk about anything like yard work, I could talk to you about yard work for the longest amount of time because I just love being outside.
No, I do that. I have them talk to me about like fertilizer or something like that. And
like the patterns that you cut the grass in and how you alternate based on the week so that you have different patterns cut in the grass because it keeps the grass healthy and it makes the yard look pretty. And I can talk to you about how I compete with my neighbors because we all sort of low key, we haven't ever said it, but it's very clear that when somebody goes and cuts their lawn, the next person comes out and cuts theirs so theirs looks a little bit fresher and nicer. Yeah.
So what you just did there, you got really into it.
Yeah.
You leaned forward in your chair a little bit and you started talking to me. And it's interesting, whenever I do this exercise with people, sometimes they're explaining to me something that I have no idea about, something that is just a topic that's completely incomprehensible to me because I've never learned about it. And I stop them afterwards and I go, okay, do you see what you did there? That was you talking about something you're passionate about to somebody who doesn't understand it as well as you, and you weren't talking down to me. You weren't treating me like I'm stupid, but you were explaining it in a way to kind of help me understand why you're so passionate about it. So that's the version of you we're going to get on video today. The version of you care about the other person. You're excited. You're energetic. You're not scripted. you're not saying the thing that you're not just out here with talking points that you think you're supposed to say. You're talking about this weird thing that I have absolutely no concept about,
Yeah.
but I see the human being coming out, you trying to relate to me. And like, we're going to get you out there for 30 seconds talking like that. And that's it.
Yeah.
You're going to put it out there and then we're going to follow up. And that's all the video is.
Yeah. So I have this thing that I say to clients. I always say, "You're weird as you're wonderful." And I think it sounds like that, right? It's kind of getting to the point where you realize that the stuff that, yeah, okay, in a job search, you got to keep it relevant. Like, I don't know that I'd necessarily get on and talk about lawn care with somebody, but in the right format, even in an interview, if you get to the chit chat part of things, like sometimes that kind of stuff comes up and it's not what you're talking about. It's the person you become and how you present yourself as you talk about those things. And so that's the biggest struggle that I see job seekers have is they're so afraid to do the wrong thing. And so in being afraid to do the wrong thing, they do nothing, or the safe version.
Yeah. And I think this is actually a problem that's getting worse with, I don't know if you want to go down this rabbit hole. We could talk about ChatGPT
Let's do it
today.
Yeah.
It can be very useful to use ChatGPT for help with preparation and to get feedback on interactions and stuff like that. I know I certainly use ChatGPT for my business, but you can fall into this trap where you become afraid to say anything other than like, what is the approved thing? And, the reason why we go for what's honest is because everybody is saying the thing that they think they're supposed to say. And when you say the honest thing, people are like, oh, that actually sounds real, and that's why I say, that's why you talk about the job. That's why you talk about the role. And, I'm not saying like, go out there and talk about Johnny Unitas in 1950s football, but again, that same kind of energy you have, you got to niche it into their window. And again, they don't care about you. They don't care if they make a snap-second judgment and be like, I don't think this person understands the role. They're just going to toss you aside and you will not exist as far as they are concerned. Right. So, that same idea of the niche that you can get weird on, like, that's their job. It's not boring because this is what they're paid to do. So you just take that responsibility, you take that job listing seriously for a minute, and hopefully you're not a total fraud and you actually are qualified for the role, and like you actually do have a perspective on some of these things, but it's all about just like making that connection. And in improv we say, don't tell jokes, give gifts. We could talk about what a gift is. It's not buying somebody a present. It's using specific phrases, specific words, specific actions that are going to resonate, that are going to add life to the scene. And that job description is already full of gifts. There's dozens of gifts in there that will already give you clues about what are they looking for, what kind of personality type do they want, what kind of workload is this going to be, what kind of problems are they maybe dealing with. There are so many gifts within that job listing that you can talk about. You don't really need to stray too far away from there.
Yeah. And doing that research ahead of time, I don't know how you feel about this, but I always tell people, do the research ahead of time, because when you show up and you understand, you can synthesize that, you can play around with it better. And if you haven't done the work and you haven't done anything beyond the surface level, and then you go on there and you try to make this video, or you send a cover letter or whatever it is, and you send a DM on LinkedIn and you're going to try to network with somebody. If you're just saying these surface level things that everybody says because you haven't done the work, or you haven't figured out what really matters, or how does this connect to me, or what's the alignment, like you said, it becomes highly ignorable. People can just sense that. I don't know what it is. It's even like LinkedIn. I mean, you're on LinkedIn every day. I was just telling somebody, I don't read a lot of posts on LinkedIn because so many people are saying the exact same thing. It becomes kind of echo chambery. And in my mind, I can lift and shift that to the job seeker world too. It's like if you're not seeing that experience, maybe from a hiring manager's point of view or a recruiter's point of view, where you're seeing high volumes of something come in, and seeing how similar all the things are. It's like you don't have that perspective that like, wow, everything is ignorable except for the one thing that's different. So you need to be the one thing.
Yeah, yeah. In sales, we call that a pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think about that a lot because if you think about human beings, like we're designed to recognize the thing that doesn't fit into the pattern. You know, we evolved as
Yeah.
animals because we have the ability to look at the bush and see that one red berry sticking out
Right.
and pluck it out and eat it. You know, um, patterns are how we keep ourselves safe. If we see something that strays from the pattern, we're like, what's that? You know? And that's what video is. Everybody is out there doing the exact same thing. Everybody's cover letters and resumes are, you know, basically the same, usually. Again, especially if
Yeah.
everybody's having ChatGPT or something write it. Like
Right.
when you are the one who sends the video out there and you're like, hey, Erin, saw the new things that the company has been doing. This role jumped out at me for a couple of reasons. I just had to make a video to introduce myself. So number one, I notice you are looking for somebody
Yeah.
who can get on video regularly. This is what I've been doing for the past 5 years, you know,
Yeah.
and it's because I have processes for this. I also see that you need a self-starter, which is great because I've actually and you know, again, you're starting with the thing that they said and then you're pivoting to why it's relevant to you. But again, you gotta be you know, you don't want to be too confident, you don't want to be too arrogant. I always like to have an air of uncertainty, a little bit of being like, I think there might be something here. You know, I would love the chance to speak with you a little bit further to see if there might actually be a fit here.
Yeah.
You know, so let me know if
Love
you're
that.
interested
I
in.
love that. Yeah. People should snag that. It's kind of like a curious confidence.
Yes, curious. Be curious, not judgmental.
Yeah.
Um, it's like, hey, here are the things that jumped out to me. You know, I think I could bring a lot to this role because you're looking for X, Y, and Z, but I want to know what you think.
Yeah.
You know, again, not a performance. This is not a one-man show. This is a two-way conversation, even though you're only seeing one half of it. And sometimes I'll even have moments in the video where I ask a question to the camera and I just kind of let it sit there for a minute. And I kind of let the other person who's conceivably watching this video kind of answer the question mentally, you know? And
Yeah.
again, it kind of simulates that idea of like, this is a two-person conversation because guess what? Right now, I don't care who you're selling to or who you're trying to get in front of. We all have one screen, right? We all have one phone.
Yeah.
Everybody has a device that they're looking at on their phone. If you make it there, if you're the person on their screen talking straight to them, you are closer to them than 99.9% of people in their life will ever get.
Yeah.
And maybe you've only got a minute, you know? If you've only got a minute, you got to start right with what they care about. You got to lock into the things that you know are important to them. And you know, think of yourself. Who are the people that we like? We like people who are like us. You know, if I meet someone and all they do is talk about how fantastic they are, I'm like, that guy's an arrogant jerk.
Mm-hmm.
If I talk to someone and the guy's like, you like chess? I like chess too. Oh my God. Do you play the English opening? What do you do with this? And then I'm just like, I like that guy. You know, why do I like him? Because he's interested in all the things that I'm interested in. And he's interested in me. You know, he makes me feel good when I'm around him. And again, it's not rocket scientist. You don't have to go like, there's no excuse for not doing your homework because it's easier than ever to do your homework. Like, if you want to find out things about a company, ask ChatGPT. Or you could even just go directly to their website, look at press releases, look at earnings calls, look at social media. These are the things that a company does because they want to be perceived a certain way. So that's where I start. I start by asking myself, how do these people want to be perceived? And then I'm going to start by perceiving them that way. Hey, I know you pride yourselves on being at the forefront of creativity and AI. And that's why this role jumped out at me. And again, I'm starting with the thing that they care about, not the thing that I care about, because then we would just be talking about Super Smash Brothers, and
which
only
is cool too.
Want that. Yeah. But no, I'm confining myself to the role, and you're not. There's this wonderful phrase we use in sales all the time that I use when I'm making sales videos, which is sell the conversation, not the product. And you got to think of yourself the same way. Your job isn't here to convince the person to hire you on the spot. Your job is to signal that you are somebody worth having a conversation with. And that starts by being attentive, professional, and again, having an understanding about the role, speaking about the things that they care about. If you just go through and tick some of those boxes of the things that they care about, that's how you get into the room. And you can show them all the other wonderful things about you when the time is right. But first, you got to get over that hurdle of like, is this person even relevant for the role?
Super good call out for folks is that idea of knowing what the objective of that interaction is, I think. Right? Like if you're sending that initial video, whether it's a sales video, whether it's you're a job seeker and that's technically a sales video too. Frankly, you're selling you. But the whole idea is just to get them to say yes to whatever's next, whatever the next step is in the road. It's not to go from A all the way to Z. It's just to go from A to B. So a lot of times, even when I'm coaching people on resumes, they're over engineering. They're thinking about this resume and they spent 3 months working on a resume. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Have you just backed up and thought about the fact that what you need this resume to do is just get them to get on the phone with you? So it just needs to show enough to somebody without distracting them, overwhelming them, confusing them, and get them to be like, oh yeah, I want to talk to this person. And then you get yourself your at bat, right? And there you are. And now you're in the conversation. Well, now you're in the conversation. What do you got to do next? Well, this conversation is to show you have that baseline skill set. So let's go in ready to show that you have the basics of what they're looking for. Like, do you check the boxes, so to speak? And are you personable and, easy to chat with? And okay, great. That person's going to put you forward to the next round. So that incremental sort of milestone approach, I really like thinking that way. Do you see video working that way too? Like different videos probably have different objectives, I'm guessing, as you make them.
Yes. Yeah, you always need to understand like what the next step should be, and you have to make it easy for the other person.
Yeah.
When it's a job interview or when it's a job application, that's pretty easy, being like, hey, I hope you'll give my resume some consideration. Let me know if you want to consider having a conversation. I would love to chat further about this with you. So thanks a lot and take care. That's pretty straightforward. With sales, it's actually a little bit more difficult because there's so many things you could ask for, and it doesn't always have to be a meeting. But I actually think it works best if you do ask for the meeting. So we can get into here, but like there's a number. So there's like over 10 different stages of the pipeline where you might want to send a video. And depending on which of those stages you're at, different call to actions are what's appropriate. And I know now we're kind of veering off the job search into
That's
sales
fine.
a little bit,
Yeah.
but you have to be clear with your audience what you want them to do. And sometimes even giving a little bit of instruction on how they can respond goes a long way. So
can I put you on the spot and ask you to do an example? Because I think it's great. And we have a lot of people who are in sales on the job search or who are thinking about sales in a career pivot. So I think this is a great, frankly, my team that I lead, during the day, like we've started using video a lot in working with a lot of our customers. And that whole conversation of like, tell them what you want them to do next. Like, is it clear? Is it clear what your call to action was? So how do you navigate that?
Yeah. So every time you send any form of communication, you always want to have one thing that you want to accomplish. So when I send a video to somebody, I'm sending the video, and then I'm sending words along with the video, either in a DM or an email. And so then you got to ask yourself, like, okay, what are the words asking for, and then what is the video asking for? And sometimes people ask for like 5 different things in the words, and then they talk about 10 different things in the video, and then the person's sitting there being like, what am I supposed to do,
Right.
so
Right.
when I send a video, the words that I send along with it, the goal of those words is just to get them to watch the video. So maybe I'll say something along the lines of like, hey, Erin, I've been watching your content on LinkedIn. I know right now the team is focusing on a lot of new sales outreach efforts. I made this video about something I thought you should consider. I hope you'll check it out if you got a minute today. I think it might be worth your while.
So good.
So again, it's just built. They see it there. They see the thumbnail there. I have not spoiled the ending. They don't exactly know what they're going to get in there. I've given a little bit of context, but
Yeah.
those words in that email or in that DM or whatever, they have one goal, and that goal is get them to click the play button on the video. Then we've got the video. So when they watch it, I can ask for anything I want, but I got to make it easy for the other person.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you you were just talking about this, and this is something that we've talked about on my team. We've noticed that when we tell somebody, hey, quick 90-second video, you call out how long the video is. We find that people tend to act on it more when we let them know that the video is super short. Because I think my hypothesis is that we're all busy. And I don't want to click on something where you're going to send me this 5-minute long, like, I don't know where the value is in the middle of the sandwich kind of video. If I'm like, hey, made you this quick 90-second video, going into it, they already know, like, even if I watch this thing beginning to end, like, I've wasted a minute and a half. So I don't know if you've seen this or there's anything. I just would love your thoughts if it's just purely, if it's nothing, but it seems like when we call out the amount of time on the video and we say that it's short, people watch it more.
Yeah, I'll say a couple things and then I'll give a brief little warning, which might be unnecessary.
Okay.
So one, the most effective video is the one that works. So I always tell people, hey, if you ignore 100% of what I say and you send a video and that video gets you a meeting, congratulations, you won. You found your style. It's different than my style. Don't feel like you have to go out there. Again, this comes back to saying the thing that's honest instead of the thing that you think you're supposed to say. That goes for my advice too. Don't go out there and say, well, this is the thing Chris Bogue said, so it's going to work for me. It's people are complex. Situations are complex. The world changes quickly. So you've got to experiment a lot. And when you find something that works, you go with it. My warning is there is a lot of data that says subject lines like quick question, just a quick question, can sometimes get you in trouble. And it's a big thing I have to say to salespeople out there. Be very honest about time, because I can't tell you how many times people have asked me for a quick 15-minute conversation that goes well over 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So there is a way to do it where it can sound kind of apologetic and you're making it sound like it's not really worth their while. Like, I don't want to be apologizing for it. And that's kind of like my thing too. Like, I don't like to talk too much about how like, oh, I know you're so busy, this and that. I'm just like, here's the video. Here's why I think it might be worth it to check it out. But I do sometimes mention, hey, if you've got 1 free minute today, I hope you'll glance at this because I think this might be relevant to what your team is working on. So it's not a no, don't ever do this. And like I do a little bit of it myself, but don't go overboard with that, because if you're gonna potentially like make this company millions of dollars, then like who cares if it's longer than a minute, you
Sure.
know? Yeah, that's my two
Yeah.
cents.
Yeah. I will agree with you on the subject line. I mean, how many emails I get with like quick question or just a few minutes, or those kind of like surefire sign that it's something that you don't know the person and they're asking for your time, right? So yeah, definitely not a subject line thing. We've found it more with people who are more functional users. I'm wondering, as well, like for us, yeah, it's functional users. It's people who are really busy in their day, and it's like, hey, here's a quick 90-second thing that's about this. So I like what you said, though. It's kind of like, if it's working, run with it. If it's not, make adjustments. And it's probably going to work a little differently for everybody based on your situation. And maybe the takeaway is like, don't be afraid to try some stuff and then pay attention to whether it works or not and make changes.
And there are different things you can ask for that will signal to the other person that this isn't going to be incredibly time intensive.
Yeah.
So I know, depending on the video, I have said to different people before. One, here, a line that I use frequently that I actually kind of like is I tell people like, hey, if anything in this video has resonated with you, if you want to talk further, respond to this with anything. You can send me literally anything. This does not need to be a full 30-minute Zoom call. If you want to just DM me back, you can DM me back. I
Yeah.
talk on LinkedIn all the time. Again, this is me going through and coaching them on how to respond, and I'll do that sometimes. I'll say, hey, you can respond with anything. If you just want to DM me back, you can DM me. Or if you want to chat, you can just send me a thumbs up and I'll send you some available times if you want to choose a time that works for you. But again, this is me going back to like, what's the one thing I want out of them? A response. Okay, well, I'm going to make it super clear. You can click this, you can DM me back, or if you want to do a Zoom, you could do, again, I don't want to like say you always have to give 3 options and load them over. But again, going back to that, this person's only got a minute, you got to make it simple for them. That also goes to, what do you want me to do with this information that you just gave me?
Yeah.
And you need to mention that to them too. Hey, if this sounds good for you, let me know if you're open to chat sometime soon. Or, hey, if you want to, you could just text me back this, or, whatever. Literally explain what you want them to do, because it's not always clear.
I like that. I like that one. Tell them what you want, explain what you want them to do. Tell them what you want them to do, I think, is a great takeaway. Job seeker, salesperson, whatever it is you're using for your purpose of communication. I think that whole idea of telling somebody what you want them to do and being clear about that is like a big takeaway that we would want people to have.
Yeah, and here's another thing that I
Oh
do
boy,
all
Chris
the
is
time.
excited.
In almost 100% of my
Yeah.
video for sales messages, I also tell them how to reject me.
Okay, tell me how.
Which you might want to. So I go, hey, Erin, if any of this sounds interesting, if you want to chat further, just respond with anything. Like I can send you some times. If you send me a thumbs up emoji, I'll send you some times. If you want to pick a time, you could just DM me back. Also, if this does not sound like something that's relevant to you, that's totally fine too. I don't take it personally either way. If you're like, this does not sound like anything our team would be doing anytime soon, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't take offense either way. Let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. And I can't tell you how many times, again, because I've made it clear for them, there's so many things that happen, and it usually doesn't involve someone like I send out 10 videos and instantly I get 10 meetings on the calendar. Right? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes people reach out and they're like, hey, I appreciate the video. I don't really think this is a priority right now, because right now we're really focusing on this and this and this, but maybe in a couple months. And like, that's a gift. They just gave me a bunch of gifts. Now I could come back and say, hey, Erin, I know when I first reached out to you, your team was really working on this. You were building out this new process with your sales enablement team to do blah, blah, blah. I'm wondering if now might be a better time to chat. I've had people who They get the video, and then 7 months later, they just send me a thumbs up. And I go, here's my calendar invite. And now they're ready. Again, sometimes if somebody reaches out and they're like, hey, gonna be honest, like, this is not at all on our priority list. If we ever wanted to do video, it would be like priority number 25 of 25.
Yeah.
Like, appreciate, like, I don't really care because I just want a response. And when you've done a lot of sales, you know that a maybe is sometimes worse than a no, because a maybe will string you along. Whereas if they're just like, hey, this is not something we're ever going to be doing. We hired somebody who was doing something like this 6 months ago. It was a disaster. We fired him and laid off half the team. There is no way leadership is signing on to another thing like this. That's a gift too. Rejection is a gift as well.
It is.
But again, they don't necessarily volunteer that information unless I make it easy for them.
Yeah.
And again, I'm talking to them as a friend. I am insightful. I'm curious about them. I've done a little bit of homework, so I understand a little bit about them. And that last line where I'm like, hey, if this doesn't sound relevant, if this doesn't sound like something that's a fit for you, that's fine too. You can let me know. Like, I am preemptively letting them know that I'm going to take it professionally. You know, I'm not going to get angry at them. I'm not going to say something snotty and passive aggressive and then go make a LinkedIn and post about it. I'm letting them know, like, hey, this is my job.
Don't ever do that, right? Like, people listening, don't ever do that. Don't ever make the passive aggressive LinkedIn post. Ugh.
And again, that would make sense if you were the main character of the universe, but you're not the main character. You're the supporting character.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, if you're in sales, you are bothering them. You know, you are
100%.
bothering them. It's like, if you are showing up to their inbox uninvited, you got to be a little bit more professional than everybody else in their inbox today.
Yeah. I want to pivot us a little bit and talk about, well, there's one thing. So we have to talk about death by PowerPoint. You can pick what we talk about next. We can talk about death by PowerPoint because I just think it's like so fun. Like, it's the one fun thing that I see on LinkedIn. And I'm not just saying that because you're sitting here with me right now. And then I also want to just talk about, like, how did you get into this? You know, a big part of when I work with people who are career pivoters, that's most of my clients are people who are making a change in their career. And so a lot of times they're like, well, I don't know, what else can I do? You know, I've always done this. And now, like, how did you become a video guy? And like, you're on LinkedIn and you have all these projects and you're coaching people. And like, how did you get here? Because I saw at one point, like, you have a background in sales. You worked at a restaurant at one point. You were something with social media. So like, you've kind of done a bunch of different stuff, but now it's like, you're good at this. And here you are. And I think a lot of times we don't always get the story on how people get to where they are.
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So, 5 years ago, when I first started on LinkedIn, I had no video production experience. I had a lot of experience in front of the camera. So I had done some stuff on TV. I said, I'd done a lot of performing. I dabbled in video prospecting. I was beginning to discover video prospecting in my last role and that it was very powerful. I didn't know how to edit a video. I didn't know how to do transitions. I didn't know how to do music. I didn't know how to do lighting. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. I just looked out at LinkedIn and I was like, oh God, these people are even worse than I am. And you just start doing it,
Yeah.
And I remember now it's different because, it used to be the advice was learn to code. And now everybody's like, AI is going to do all the coding. So I don't want to tell people about that. But I remember like about 5 years ago, I was talking to a friend. I actually coached her to get a job in part by using video. And she was going to like a coding school, like Coding Academy or something like that. Yeah. And I was talking to her and I'm like, what kind of role do you want? Tell me like what you would tell a hiring manager. And she's like, oh, I'm learning about coding. I've been studying. I enrolled this thing. I'm learning about it. I'm like, okay, repeat after me. I'm a coder. Go.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a coder. And I'm like, yes, you completed your coding course. You've been doing coding gigs for people. You're not learning about coding. You're a coder.
Yeah.
Are you the best coder on earth? No. And you're not saying that you're the best coder on earth, but you are saying you're a coder because that is what you're doing now, right? You've decided on this. okay, so this is an entry-level coding job. You are qualified to get this. So don't say I'm trying to be a coder. I'm trying to learn this. I'm trying to understand. Repeat after me. I'm a coder. And she's like, I'm a coder. I had to do that myself. And it was funny because when I first started doing this,
Yeah.
I lost so many of my first clients for hilariously stupid reasons. I'm just like, oh, I'm a business coach now. I coach people to sell on video. Is that a thing? And they're like, oh yeah, business coaches are totally a thing. And I had someone reach out to me who was a friend of mine for a long time, who's a successful guy. And he was like, all right, let's do it. And I thought he was joking. I didn't even know what to do. I lost my second client because she wanted to pay me $15,000 and I didn't know how to accept the money.
Like you weren't ready for people to say yes to you?
I wasn't ready for people. I was so ready for them to reject me that I didn't have a plan for what I would do if they said yes. And she's like, what do you do? And I'm like, I hadn't set up a business bank account yet. I'm like, you could write a check and you could send it here. And then it was like, I lost her after a week because she's like, this is too difficult to pay you. Like, come hit me up when you're more established. I'm like, damn it. But again, it was just the confidence. And this is also the benefit of when you're out there for 30 seconds at a time of being like, I'm a video coach. Then the person who's looking for a video coach is like, oh, well, that's perfect timing because this is what I wanted. So
yeah.
You got to kind of just start doing the thing. And so that's one aspect of it. Death by PowerPoint was a thing I started doing. So the actual reason why I started doing it was because I had a client who, and my version of it is called Death by PowerPoint. There's a million different versions of it.
Can you explain everybody what it is so that we have like a good context here?
Yeah, so I call it Death by PowerPoint. Some people call it PowerPoint karaoke or PowerPoint roulette. The idea is you show up and you have to give a PowerPoint presentation you've never seen before as though you've seen it.
So good.
That's all it is. You show up, you have no preparation. They give you a PowerPoint slide deck, and then you have to go through and present it. So the way I do the show is there's 3 contestants, they show up. The whole gimmick of the show is like you show up for 5 minutes and that's it. Each slide is 30 seconds long, 8 slides to a slide deck. It's nothing but nonsense. It is complete nonsense, but you have to go act like it's not. And I do a little bit of coaching beforehand, and I tell everybody in the show, I'm like, 1, it's okay to be nervous. Everybody gets nervous. 2, think about comedy. Like, I have a lot of opinions on comedy. To me, comedy is about like 2 different energies hitting off of each other. Comedy exists in the gap between what we think we're supposed to feel and what we actually feel. And what I tell all the contestants on Death by PowerPoint is a very simple formula for comedy is straight man or straight woman and crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you think a lot about like classic vaudeville and classic comedy, Laurel and Hardy and Abbott and Costello. You typically have a very straight-laced person and then a really ridiculous person who's not following the rules of society. And the comedy comes from them clashing off of each other. The most instructive example I can give you is The Naked Gun with Leslie Nielsen. So if you've ever seen The Naked Gun or Airplane or any movies like that, the reason why they are so funny is because there's all this crazy, absurd stuff happening. And Leslie Nielsen, God rest his soul, is out there playing it completely straight. He just acts like it's normal, So I tell everybody, I go, look, you are the straight man or the straight woman. You do not need to be crazy up here because the PowerPoint is the crazy one. There's going to be all sorts of crazy, ridiculous stuff in there that you are going to be surprised by. If you just act like it's normal, and you just act like you intended to put this up there and you just try to give a good PowerPoint presentation, that's what's funny. The audience laughs because they see you up there just acting like it's normal and there's just like crazy stuff on the screen. And like that, those two energies, the normal person giving the PowerPoint and the insane, often like satirical, sometimes it's like weird nightmare AI badly generated images, those two things clashing off of each other are really funny. And
Yeah.
even if you go up there and you blank and it's not like just just someone scrolling through their news feed who sees a person just kind of dumbfounded and some ridiculous asinine PowerPoint presentation, like that visual is funny, even if they're only watching it for 5 seconds, you know? So, again, don't feel like you need to go create something insane out there. Like, react honestly as a human being, and that's where the comedy is going to come from.
I think that piece that you just said there, react honestly as a human being, also kind of, even if you took it away from comedy, it's where connection comes from. It's where relatability comes from. It's where, when you said at one point earlier in our conversation, oh, I like that guy. Like when you react to something naturally, and it's just, it is, right? It's not premeditated and robotic, and how I was talking about, you're staring down the camera and you're not moving and you're reciting your lines, like that doesn't connect. But what you're saying there is, you show up, you interact with something, it is what it is almost, and that's likable. That creates connection.
Yeah. And it's context. The thing about improv is it's the ultimate, you had to be there. You know, when people in the early 1990s went to Second City and they
Yeah.
watched Chris Farley, you know, doing Van Down by the River, like they didn't know who Chris Farley was. He was just that big fat maniac, you
Right.
know? And it's the kind of thing where people are like, I can't even explain to you, but we were just dying laughing. Like you had to be there. And there's a reason why when you go see a stand-up comedian, or maybe it's like your favorite band or something, they start by talking about your city. Have you ever noticed that? If you ever go and you see a professional
Yeah, you're
comedian, you
right.
go watch Jerry Seinfeld or Chris Rock or something like that, they almost always have a line. They're like, Chicago. Everyone starts with, they're like, all right, I just flew in from O'Hare today. I had one of your lasagna pizzas. You people are ridiculous. Like, why are they doing that? It's because it establishes context. You know, we're not able to laugh fully unless we assume that this person is on our side and this person understands us to some level. And like that's what you're doing with the video, and that's what you're doing in sales, what you're doing with you know a
Yeah.
job application or anything like that. You're establishing that context. And you know, the things that are funny in the moment don't really last beyond that. And again, that's why I always say, like, look for the gifts in the description, look for the gifts that are right in front of you. Those are the things that are going to stick with the person, as opposed to like, oh, I found this really funny joke on ChatGPT. Okay, well, it might suck. It might actually be really super lame. And, you know, if the other person doesn't laugh, you just shot yourself in the foot. But if they put this thing out there to attract candidates, and you mention something that's in the job description because it actually is relevant to you, you actually do have a perspective on that, you have experience on that, now you're talking about something real.
Yeah.
And that's what context is. It's starting with something real, and you need to lay that foundation down, because if you don't, there's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there to tie you in as a real person. They're just going to toss your resume aside because it's just a bunch of text. They don't know that you're a person. They don't know that you actually sat down and wrote that. That might have been a bot or something, you know. But when you actually look at them and speak to them, and it's the thing that's real, not the thing that somebody else told you to say, but it's actually the real thing that you observed about them, that's when you make that connection. And that's the whole point of video. And that's, as we come up to the end of our time here, I especially say in sales, like, you are not sending a product demo. That is the biggest mistake that sales does, is they will send a screen share that's essentially a product demo that nobody asked for. And I tell them, hey, if they wanted to watch a product demo, they can go find it on your website. That is easy to find. That's not the point of a prospecting video. The prospecting video the point is to create a human connection. And that's a lot simpler than people think.
One of the words I've heard you say a few of the same words, and I've been jotting them down as we've been talking, because I'm like, I think this is it. Like, if we said, do your research, right? You got to know who you're talking to and what it is you're going to be saying to them, and how you're going to talk to something that creates connection, that shows that you're on their side, that creates alignment, that shows that you're a real person. I really do think this, when I was thinking about having you on this conversation today, first of all, I'm like, Chris Bogue, he's a real person, right? When I see you online, you show up as a real person, and you've talked about all that today. You've talked about your interests and the things that you're doing. And so for people who are following me and who are in the job search and who are looking for ways to stand out, this is a huge untapped area, in my opinion, is video done well. And because it creates connection, it creates authenticity, it creates memorability, it sets you out apart from everyone else. I did this exercise, I don't know, half a year ago at this point, but I told everybody, send me your best DM. DM me like you DM a hiring manager, and I'll give you some feedback. I don't know, like 200 and something DMs. How many people sent me a video? Big old donut hole. Nobody. If somebody would have done that, they would have been the one person out of 200, 250 people who did something different, who didn't send me a paragraph that said, I know I'm a great fit and here's why. And so I think there's some magic in that. And I hope that, as we've talked through this today, people have heard, I know we talked a little bit about sales and we talked a little bit about death by PowerPoint and some other things, but really, like, what you're saying is show up authentically, understand what it is you're there to accomplish, have a clear call to action. It's really good advice, and it's really good advice that they'll take forward in their careers too. This isn't just for job search.
Yeah, well, and hopefully, we haven't used the L word during this hour, but I hope it's come through that, like, listening is at the core of all of this, and it really is a listening game. If anybody tuned into the program late, the video that you send to a hiring manager is not noteworthy because of the amazing things I've said. It's because of the things I noticed in the description that they put out there. And that's everything I do comes back to improv philosophy. And again, improv is about don't tell jokes, don't go out there and tell jokes. And they also say, do not invent things. Your job is not to invent things. Discovery is better than invention, and really listening to the words people are saying, or again, the words in a job description, or again, if you're doing sales, press releases, mission statements on a website, earnings calls, like these things, like really pay attention to what they're putting out there, because they put so much time and work and money and thought into that. Really, there's that old saying, it's better to be interested than to be interesting. And yeah, the things you notice about what they said, that's what's going to stick out. You noticed the thing they did, you noticed the thing that was important to them. And I would say, if you actually cross that hurdle and you actually make it into the interview, the questions you ask are going to stand out more than your fantastic answer. And like, are you curious about them? Are you asking insightful things, not just things you could have found with 5 seconds of Googling, but, again, discovering, hey, I know you mentioned in the job description that there'd be about 30% traveling. Could you tell me a little bit more about what are these events that you're traveling to? What are the goals there? And kind of, how do you plan these things?
Yeah.
I didn't have to invent that. It's sitting right there in the role. It's saying must travel. Okay. Well, yeah, that sounds great. I love traveling. What kind of events have you been doing? What kind of results do you see from those? What's the purpose of those? How do you go about planning those? What are your plans for doing that in 2025? You know, I could ask 6 questions based on just that one tidbit there. And again, I could go through the archives and tell them about all the crazy, funny stuff I've been doing throughout my life. That's not what they care about. They need to get this role filled. So me being curious about the role, me noticing details about the role and things that they need to get done, that is what's important in this context. And that little area of context, that little bit of context is all you need to further a relationship.
Love it. All right. I'm going to ask you one more thing, put you on the spot.
All right.
Here you are in your career. We've all, been there and done lots of things to get to where we are today. What's the number one piece of advice you have when it comes to careers?
Never take it personally.
Oh, I like it.
Never take it personally. There's, you might, even if you get rejected, even if they're a little snotty about it, even what, it has nothing to do with you. There's a million reasons why you might not get an opportunity. They have nothing to do with you. There's a million reasons why somebody doesn't click your video, even though it was fantastic. Onwards and upwards, Yeah. You can't take it as a reflection of your self-worth, at the very least, because that might hurt your chances at the next opportunity. You can't go in there basing your opinion of yourself based on somebody else's rejection. You have to look at the opportunities. You have to look at, what does the other person want out of this situation? Can I give them that? And that's what you focus on next. So it's never about you. I guess this all kind of dovetails nicely with the sub lesson we've had throughout this is you're not the main character.
Right.
A lot of those reasons have absolutely nothing to do with you. Never take it personally, ever.
Chris, thank you. Excellent advice. One more time, I know you have a course that if people are interested in working with you, is that the best way? Tell me all the things. Like, how can they find you, get in touch with you?
So best way to find me is go on LinkedIn and ring my bell. So hit
you have a bell. Button.
I know.
He has a bell.
Yeah, I post new content on LinkedIn all the time. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's instructional. Sometimes it's about video. Sometimes it's about sales. Sometimes it's about the creative process. Check out Chris Bogue on LinkedIn. You can also find me at chrisbogue.io, which is my website, where you can also get the complete guide to selling on video. That is a 2.5-hour in-depth course for everything you need to add video to your sales pipeline. So it doesn't matter if you are a sales expert already or you are completely new to sales. It doesn't matter if you're a video expert or if you are working with just your phone. It gives you everything you need for cold outreach, warm outreach, filming, lighting, script writing, editing, outbound for Gmail, outbound for LinkedIn, everything you need to know. Get the complete guide to selling on video at chrisbogue.io, and you will be able to send your first batch of 25 sales videos, personalized, short, and sweet, in a way that will hopefully get responded to.
Yeah. And you got a promo code? You got a promo code, a coop, right? Gimme.
Yeah. So gimme.
GIMME.
That's right. Yeah, that's a secret. Don't go spreading it around, but yeah, there's I believe $50 off.
All right, just for our friends here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're over time. Thank you for staying a little bit longer. This has been wonderful, and I do hope people have walked away with some really great feedback and ideas around how to show up confidently on video. And I hope they follow you, because when does season 2 of Death by PowerPoint come out?
I don't know. I gotta book it. It's kind of a pain. It's kind of a pain to schedule because I've always got to have 3 guests and I've got to make all the PowerPoints and stuff. But
yeah,
keep an eye out for
the people are waiting. I'm just telling you, the people are waiting.
Yes.
So don't let us down. Okay. On that note, let's go. We'll see you. Thanks, Chris.